again, this is something that has a tendency to take place when there is no composition or cohesion. And they started to lose the cohesion when, as I was telling you guys before, this whole Civil War thing, well, we had a cohesion sort of thing, but when we had skirmishes or disagreements with one another in the people of the Americas that were from the Americas and attached to the Americas, it might have involved someone having their little physical fight and, you know, when it was over, you licked your wounds and went on about your business and that was it. It didn't involve these outright murders and slaughters and killing of whole groups. That started occurring after these people came here from other places in the world that had a totally different get-down about how they interact and handle things than our people do. So I'm saying all that to say, what I have found going on now is a very strange blend that is very much the misleading of the people, all the people throughout the planet. But it's coming from blood feuds that aren't even about certain people, and people are being misled to think that things are about them that are not about them. Now, my perception is there are a lot of people that have come here from Europe or wherever, Africa or wherever they've come from, with whatever thing was going on. And a lot of people, whatever they used to do in the past, many of them have evolved beyond the point, to a certain point where they don't do certain things any longer, they don't practice certain things any longer, and they don't get involved in certain things any longer. Albeit there's still entirely too much child molestation and family incest that a lot of the victims don't like, and a lot of them, the first opportunity they get, they're out of the house and gone because they can't deal with it, not knowing that that was passed down from their culture. But when you evolve past a certain thing and you know better, you do better. So what I'm saying is there are people that have been misled into these blood, Crip, SA, Mafia, Ku Klux Klan, Jew, Italian Mafia, drug lords, drug dealers, these different kinds of skirmishes that are being created amongst the people as a complete and totally misleading and misdirection of energy and misdirection of activity so that you don't see what you should see. And so you don't see who you should see. And everybody has gotten screwed. And I'm going to say, just like a lot of unethical criminal activities occur, and melanin-rich people or so-called black people are blamed for those things when it wasn't them and couldn't have been them. There are a lot of unethical criminal activities that occur, and so-called Jews are blamed for them when it wasn't them and couldn't have been them, albeit there are instances where melanin-rich so-called black people and so-called Jews, and it's the same thing for Ku Klux Klan. There are things that occur that they didn't do, and they get blamed for them, but there are things that so-called black people are doing that they shouldn't be doing. There are things that so-called Jews are doing that they shouldn't be doing. There are things that the Ku Klux Klan is doing that it shouldn't be doing. There are things that so-called mafia and drug lords are doing that shouldn't be being done. However, right now, everybody is fighting one another, and they don't see the criminal hand of the criminal element. And I perceived that there is some sort of a strange alliance or something that's misleading people, and it's a blend between what you call Neanderthal man, because they didn't disappear. There are a lot of them that are still running around here. They've just been shaved up and they're wearing suits now. And a lot of people don't know how to identify them because, for one thing, a lot of them don't come out. Because to what they call modern man, which comes in a lot of rainbow flavors and colors, to modern man, they would stand out like a sore thumb, a lot of them. It's like, oh, now that's a butt ugly thing going there. So what they've done is, for those individuals that were heart-bred hybrids of them, they mislead them down a path of vengeance and vendetta for, where there should not be any longer. Now, what has happened is, if you remember, if you comprehend, which maybe you guys don't because I don't think I got into that, but when you comprehend that Neanderthal man was an extremely, and a lot of people are like, oh, no, they were intelligent, and they were gentle, and they showed tenderness. I'm like, no, I think what you saw as far as dressing of wounds and tenderness was probably the result of someone that had been kidnapped and snatched up in there and raped, expressing tenderness, probably trying to stay alive, quiet as kept. But these individuals were then and are still cannibals. They eat, they prey on the weak in particular, which are going to be women, the elderly, and children. These individuals will murder a child and have no remorse. Some people would call that type of mentality a sociopath. They would think not at all about it. Raping men and boys, raping children, women, it doesn't matter. And unfortunately, there are people that are involved in that type of behavior across the racial divide, across the continents, and across the countries. People are all out of control because they just don't get it. Now, I don't know if that behavior is the genetic Neanderthal in the blood, because a lot of us have that in the blood. We got a lot of things going on now in the blood. But, again, when you know better, you do better. So, if you comprehend that they would eat people alive, crack open the skulls, eat out the brain, these people are still running around. Some of them look more like a lot of people than they realize, and because of the getting into the various bloodlines around the world, they have begun to fit in a lot of places. And if not the most Neanderthal, if not the most Neanderthal of them, some genetic sprout or race of them. Remember, I told you race is the children of a particular parent. Some of their so-called race or their children are able to fit in. And again, now I understand and comprehend why it was always said, we got to keep the white race pure. It was never about keeping the white race pure. What it was about was keeping people pale enough in complexion for these individuals to continue to fit in where they can get in. Now, a lot of people are so light-skinned now that you have a lot of melanin-rich, what you call black people, that you can't really tell what you're looking at. And you have a lot of so-called Jewish people that you can't really tell what you're looking at. And you have a lot of Egyptian people that you can't really tell what you're looking at. And a lot of Arabic people that you can't really tell what you're looking at. And so-called Italians, you can't really tell what you're looking at. A lot of Mexicans, you can't really tell what you're looking at. And I'm saying all that to say, these people have gotten into the blood, or these entities have gotten into everybody's bloodline. Now, they are trying not so much to keep the white race pure because they don't give a damn about any race. They don't give a damn about anybody. They want to keep the Neanderthal alive, but they don't want anybody to know that the Neanderthals are alive. The objective would be to try to kill everybody off, incite different countries and different leaders and different people to get involved for different reasons, and before you know it, it's like, okay, we've gotten rid of them. Okay, now we've gotten rid of them. Now we've gotten rid of them. Now let's get rid of everybody, and we'll have the planet back. It'll just be Neanderthal, which was never the case in certain places. But some of the places that have the most, strife at this time are places where a lot of what people consider blood feuds to have begun, or where they feel like the so-called Neanderthal was driven out or wiped out or bred out or whatever the case may be. But they have not been bred out. Now, what they've done and their children, or what their children have done, is they've taken everybody's differences and used them against everyone. They've taken the whole, whatever the differences are between the Arabs and the Egyptians or whatever, and use that against the people, and whatever the differences are between the Jews and the Christians or whatever, and use that against the people, and whatever the differences were between certain Italians and others, and they've used that against the people, and whatever the differences are between black people and so-called black people and so-called white people, and they use those against everybody. Now what they've done is they've created a strange alliance of Neanderthal and people that are not Jewish, but they're saying they're Jews, and they're not, but do lie. Revelations 2:9 and 3:9. And what is the other group? The mafia. Okay? So there's a strange blend going on now between the Neanderthals that are still alive, that have survived, the mafia, and the people that are called Jews. And the thing is, not all of the people that are mafia or Jew are participating, but a lot of them are being misled to think that it's about their race or their blood thing when it's something whole other get down. Because if you really care, and see, it's not about white, because remember, if anybody knows anything about Siberia, some of everybody's race was murdered in what you call Siberia. These people have murdered people in Germany. They have murdered people in Russia. They have murdered people in England, Britain. I mean, you pick Africa, Korea, China. Pick a place. You know, I can't think of a place where some type of bloodshed is always going on. And these individuals that I'm talking about will even kill off the people that they call Jews. That's why I know it's not really Jews, even though some of them may be being led to participate in certain things because they think it's about them, like certain Bloods and Crips are being led to participate in things, and the Ku Klux Klan is being led to participate in things, and the so-called Masons are being led to participate in things. They've gotten so up into things now that they're controlling the world's finances, and I think there's only there were at one point 7 countries, 7 nations that did not have a Rothschild-owned bank. But since the invasion of Afghanistan and the invasion of Iraq, which did not have a Rothschild-owned bank, now there's only 5 nations left that don't have a Rothschild-owned bank. And those 5 are being targeted for attack. And those would be, let me see if I can find the list here, Iran, and everybody's talking about invading them. North Korea, everybody's talking about invading them. The Sudan, Libya, and supposedly Cuba. So what I'm saying is, once the monies are controlled over the planet, and these entities have strategically they first got behind the Vatican. You know, you find power, you find where the power is, and then you go after the power positions. The Vatican had a lot of power and a lot of wealth because and they infiltrated that and sent those people around the world, okay? Because, again, you can look like them. Especially when you keep inbreeding too much, you start having birth defects, and then you can look any old kind of way and fit in. No matter how crazy you look, if you got these defects going on, people don't necessarily know that you're not one of them. They just figure you're somebody with some kind of disability or something going on. So they got in there first and got control of the money, got into Britain, got control of the money. Now they're in the United States, got control of the money, and they're getting a grip on the whole world and getting control of the monies. Now, once the world's monies are controlled, and this is how you know you're dealing with something that's not quite human, because the types of cold-blooded murders that take place at the hands of these people, you're dealing with somebody that's just don't have it all together there. Now, if you can take a child and rip the child in half, that's not quite anything along the lines of insanity. And I don't care what people are saying about who it is.